Good morning, everyone. Today we've got a book that a lot of you know. We've read it at school a few times, and I was hoping to get Rosie to come and sit with us too, to join in, but she's feeling very shy, so she's just on the other side. And I'm also in my mum's living room today, different from my usual setup. So let's get on with our story. And today I'm going to read to you Me, Jane by Patrick McDonnell, and it's a story all about Jane Goodall and her childhood. Me, Jane, and there's a picture of her as a child. Jane had a stuffed toy chimpanzee named Jubilee. She cherished Jubilee and took him everywhere she went, and Jane loved to be outside. Remember how Jane became very famous for her chimpanzees, right? And here she has her own special chimpanzee. She watched birds making their nests, spiders spinning their webs, and squirrels chasing one another up and down trees. Jane learned all that she could about the animals and plants she studied in her backyard and read about in books. Aha, and here are some of the amazing notes that Jane took. She drew pictures and diagrams, and she did research. I love that page. One day, curious Jane wondered where eggs came from. So she and Jubilee snuck into Grandma Nut's chicken coop. Hid behind some straw, stayed very still. See who's coming in. And observed the miracle. Here's the miracle of a chicken laying an egg. It was a magical world full of joy and wonder, and Jane felt very much part of it. And there she is, lying on the grass, looking up at the trees with the chickens and the little chicks and the butterflies and the flowers. Jane often climbed her favourite tree, which she named Beech. She would lay her cheek against its trunk and seem to feel the sap flowing beneath the bark. There she is. Jane could feel her own heart beating, beating, beating. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. With the wind in her hair, she read and reread the books about Tarzan of the Apes, in which another girl, also named Jane, lived in the jungles of Africa. She's dreaming of Africa. I know a student named Alex Boulanges who rather enjoys things to do with Tarzan. And he's go, where's Tarzan? Jane dreamed of a life in Africa too. And look what's arrived in her garden. A life living with and helping all animals. And that's a beautiful dream she had. Well, let's see. At night, Jane would tuck Jubilee into bed, say her prayers, and fall asleep. to awake one day to her dream come true. And there's a photograph of Jane Goodall all grown up with a real chimpanzee. Not Jubilee anymore, not her little stuffed animal, but a real one. And she grew up to work with apes, and she's famous all over the world. She even comes to Quebec sometimes to talk to people. And that's the end of the story, but then at the end there's a whole bunch of things all about Jane Goodall and her life. And there is a little sketch at the very end of her camping, because of course when she's in Africa in the bush, she camps in her tent. And there's her beautiful diagram of her tent. And that's the end for today, my friends. Hope you enjoyed our book about Jane. We'll read it again sometime at school. Bye.